Hi, my name is Nick Paulson. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Consumer and Agricultural and Consumer Economics at the University of Illinois. And today I'm going to give you a quick recap and some of the highlights of the presentation that I gave at the recent 2019 Illinois Farm Economics Summit, with the title of that being Trade, the Market Facilitation Program, and then some policy directions to think about moving forward. So 2018 was the year in which we saw a lot of the trade activity from the Trump administration start to elicit some responses from some of our trading partners and have impacts on the main agricultural commodity markets. And one of the things I really tried to emphasize in my presentation back in December was while China and all of the activity back and forth between China has been getting a lot of press, what the administration has done is really been a number of trade actions that have affected agricultural trade with a number of trading partners. China, the European Union, and some of our trade partners closer to home like Canada and Mexico have also resulted in some retaliatory trade actions that help to put some downward pressure on commodity prices. And we see that a lot of the trade conflict activity was occurring from about March through the summer of 2018, where we see a pretty large decline in both corn and soybean cash prices in central Illinois. What did those MFP payments look like in 2018? Well, if we first take a look nationally at kind of the size of payments that went out through that first program, we see that in the Midwest, where payments were mainly driven by the fact that producers were grow soybeans and corn, we saw payments on a per acre basis in the range of around $50, maybe as low as $30 in areas kind of outside the main Corn Belt, as high as $80 in the main Corn Belt regions of Illinois and Indiana. And then as well as in the Delta region where we see a lot of soybean production. Larger payments, again, associated with the crops that had higher payment rates in that program, and payments were made based on production. So depending on what you grew, depending on your yield levels that year, that really affected the size of payments received in that first version of the MFP program in 2018. 2019, we saw another version of the MFP program offered to producers. In general, we saw payment levels, support levels increase as the program was expanded to include some additional crops that were experiencing damages estimated by USDA as a result of some of those retaliatory trade actions from our trading partners. The one thing to note about the change from 2018 to 2019, in addition to just the increase in overall funds available, was the fact that we saw increase to the specific crops increase, as well as the way in which payments were provided to producers change. So in 2018, the program was announced late enough so that it would not affect production decisions. Everything was planted, well underway by that July-August timeframe, and they were able to pay out based on actual bushels produced. 2019, the program worked in a way that provided a payment based on planted acreage to a group of eligible crops. The program was announced earlier in the year, and so to avoid or minimize any distortionary impacts on what farmers were deciding to plant in 2019, USDA designed the program to be based on a fixed payment rate at the county level based on eligible planted acres. You can see here that there's, again, some variation regionally, geographically, in terms of the support levels received. In general, support levels increased from the previous year. In the Midwest, most counties were in that $50 to $80 range. Right in the heart of the Corn Belt in East Central Illinois, we saw payments were slightly larger. And then we saw increased support going to a lot of the regions of the Southeast and just southern U.S. in general. And a lot of that was associated with, one, the inclusion of peanuts and some other crops in the 2019 program in terms of crops eligible for support, and the relatively large increase in payment rates that went to cotton production, and that reflects, again, those areas in red that you see in the southern half of the U.S. where those crops are grown. If we take a look at Illinois specifically, again, this just illustrates the pattern we saw on the national map, the general increase in payment levels from 2018 to 2019, with central Illinois counties receiving greater support in both years, and saw the larger increase in 2018. You see that pocket of red counties where payments were approaching that $80 per acre mark. So to kind of wrap up, one of the things that MFP was designed to do, or the main thing it was designed to do, is to address some of the trade damages that farmers were experiencing, and pretty successful in doing that in terms of providing some additional liquidity, some additional income based on the decline in commodity prices that resulted from some of those retaliatory trade actions. We still are, however, in a period of relatively low farm incomes, have been in a period of relatively low commodity prices for the last 6 years. So while the 2018-2019 MFP payments did provide some liquidity and income support to kind of help get through things on a short-term basis, some of the longer-term implications of some of these trade impacts are still a concern, as well as just the financial position of farms given where we're at from a commodity market price perspective moving forward into future years. Thank you.